Good day, folks, and welcome to another edition of Inside Santa Fe Public Schools podcast. I am Joe Abeta, and today we have the Assistant Director from the Office of Student Wellness, Jenn Jevertson. How you doing today, Jen?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Joe?
I'm doing good.
Awesome.
Thank you for coming on today. Appreciate
Happy to
it.
be here.
So the reason why we had you on, one is because you do important work here in Santa Fe Public Schools, but second is that recently, a couple of weeks ago, we had a community safety forum at Santa Fe High. Mm-hmm. And it was a great presentation. We had people that came, and we know that everyone gets caught up in the busyness of their life and stuff, but we really wanted to just kind of do a recap of what happened and go over the presentation that we gave that night to the folks that couldn't make it, and they have this opportunity to get that information.
Awesome. Fantastic. I'm glad we can get some more info out to families.
Yeah, no. So thank you. But let's first, before we get into that, I think it's important. What's the main function of the Office of Student Wellness? What would that be?
Sure. I would say overall, we are looking out for the well-being of all of our students here at Santa Fe Public Schools. Housed within our office is the nursing department, the counseling department, our Adelante department. Mm-hmm. We also do a lot of prevention work, our restorative justice program, the Wellness Ambassadors to Voice and Empower youth program is in our office, as well as teen parenting. So there's a number of things that our office oversees, but really focusing on the mental health, the overall health and well-being of all of our students.
Wow, that's a pretty important gig, I have to say, right?
Absolutely, especially these days.
Yeah. It's interesting because we had on our previous show, we had on Oscar Chavez, and we had Kendrick Nichols on, right? The attendance coaches, and they were talking about how they want to let folks know that they're there to assist them, but they're also able to let folks know that the schools have programs to offer support to families that are looking for certain needs, that
absolutely.
that they
Santa
don't know
Fe Public
about.
Schools has a lot of resources
Yeah.
with either in the schools themselves or the departments that can support families, that can help them in any of the things they need for their, academic, journey, but also just their overall well-being.
Yeah. It's I think that's another thing. The reason why we're doing these podcasts is just it's important for folks to know that it's out there, that those resources are out there.
Yeah. And if you're new to what the Office of Student Wellness does, you can always go on the district website and go under Student Wellness and check out all the services and supports we offer. And
that's at sfps.info. We'll have all that info on the screen here, and you'll be able to access all that. So Jen, the first thing that you guys talked about were the safety protocols overview as far as what are the differences between lockdown and shelter in place. Can you talk about those?
Sure, absolutely. So lockdown is when there's an immediate threat or concern of a threat that's either on campus or very near the campus. It could be outside the campus, outside the campus buildings or inside. And so they'll put the school into lockdown.
Yeah.
Students will go into their classrooms and they will shut the door and use a reinforced lock to lock it. They'll move away from the doors, they'll move away from the windows, and they'll remain quiet. And the entire campus is closed. You can't come in or out of the campus at all.
Yeah. And
students actually won't be walking around within the building either. They will be retained in their classrooms and stay there until the threat is cleared, and that is communicated to all of the students and the staff. A shelter in place, which can also follow a lockdown, is when there's some sort of threat in the vicinity. And, that could be a community situation that's happening. That could even be an environmental hazard. But essentially what we do is we could do shelter in place. There's still no entrance in or out of the campus. The students can move around within the buildings, fine.
Yeah.
And then there's restricted movement outside of the buildings, but on the school campus. Very restricted, very limited, but mostly keeping the students in the building, but they can still move between classes and academic instruction can continue.
And much like fire drills, the students are they do drills on these on different ones, right?
Absolutely. So that's one of the ways that we prepare and practice, because we can't do something great if we don't practice it.
Yeah.
So throughout the year, we have a number of different drills where students practice if there was a fire, if it's a lockdown, if they need to evacuate the building. So all of these things are meant to make sure all the staff have all the procedures clean and crisp, and then that all the students, they know exactly what to do, where to go, and how they need to act during those situations.
And the students have been doing this ideally since they were in kindergarten,
Yep,
correct?
absolutely.
So they start out in kindergarten, and then by the time they get to high school, they're pros at what needs to be done for those different events.
Absolutely.
Right, just to prepare them for that.
Yeah, the preparation and practice is very important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And for both events, other things that happen is that so the students and staff are both told that they're in a lockdown or a shelter in place, so that they know that's going on.
Gotcha.
And then as quickly as possible, it's communicated to the families as well that, that campus is in a lockdown or a shelter in place. And also law enforcement is notified immediately through a notification system called Mutual Link 360. We also have a rave system that notifies staff as well as local law enforcement. So there's a lot of immediate notifications that happen right away, and that the school isn't dealing with this, or even the school district isn't dealing with this on their own. We're partnering with law enforcement to come support and manage that potential threat.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that was brought up that day was how come things take so they're not said quickly, right? That the students are saying to the parents if something's going on, we're in lockdown or in shelter in place. And why does why are we taking we're not getting the message out as fast as we should? And what was brought up is we're working with in most cases, the Santa Fe Police Department. We're working with our safety and security team at the schools. And there's some things that we're just trying to get the right information out for one, right? And we're first want to let folks know that their students are safe. But we can't give details on what's going on because there may be an ongoing investigation that the police department don't want to release those details yet, right? And so we're trying to get out the right information and the right message to you where your student, yes, they do have a phone and they're able to say stuff, but they may not have why they're in shelter in place.
Absolutely.
Right.
That potential threat has to be verified, even that it's potential, and then that can get communicated immediately. But then you're right, when we work with the local law enforcement, it really depends on the situation, what the threat was, how quickly it can be verified, what they're able to confirm. And as much as we probably all want to know all the information, not all of it is appropriate to share out as law enforcement is conducting that investigation to really thoroughly determine that our campus, is now safe and that we can lift that lockdown or shelter in place and our students can continue on as usual.
Yeah.
But student safety is of the utmost importance.
It is. And just a little bit behind the scenes, us working in the communications office, that we get those notifications. We are right away. We're on it. We are crafting a message out to the parents as soon as we hear about it. And our message has to be vetted by the police department, vetted by the head of safety and security before we send it out, because we need to make sure that everyone's on the same page. Because wouldn't it be awful just to be able to get a message from the police department that's completely different than what the schools are putting out, and then you realize that, well, wait a minute, I'm confused on the message here. It's rather let's be careful. Let's make sure and confirm that we're all on the same page before we send that official message out to the parents.
Absolutely, because it's also so important that we're not further spreading misinformation,
correct,
and misconstruing the events of what's going on, which can then impede or affect that investigation. But, as a parent who, has had a child in a lockdown, I have gotten that text from my kid too.
Yeah.
It's a hard feeling as a parent to feel helpless that your kid is separated from you and is elsewhere. But the best thing that we can do as parents is not go to the school, because then we're just creating traffic congestion right outside, even though the desire is probably there for many of us.
Yes.
And also even trying to call the school. Those administrators can't really pick up the phone and answer the call during those situations.
That's right.
So the best thing to do is to wait for that communication from the school and validate your kids' feelings. Ask them how they're feeling. Are they calm? you know your kid best. And so if you know your kid does well with being reminded to do their breathing exercise or to, whatever works for your kid, just help validate whatever they're feeling in those situations. And just encourage them to follow the directions and do what they've practiced, and that we'll know more soon. And an important piece to know what's going on is to make sure you sign up for School Messenger.
Yes.
And so if you're not already getting regular messages from the district and your school on School Messenger, then go visit your school secretary. That's the best way to get signed up. And then that way you get all of those automatic messages and don't have to wait for a delay. And you can get them called, you can get them texted, you can get them emailed, all of that.
That's right. And one of the things that also I'd like to remind folks, if you're saying, well, I'm not getting those and I thought I signed up for it, you need to make sure that your information is correct. So when you do go to your school secretary, your school admin person that's up front, ask to say, hey, what do you guys have for my email? What do you have for my phone number? And in some cases, in most cases, you may have a wrong number on there, or you may have an old cell phone number that, we moved, we don't have that, or I lost that phone and I got a new cell phone, right? It happens sometimes. So it's just to confirm that information that is in Power School, that we're able to get that information to you, be part of School Messenger. And that's happened quite a bit this year. So, or people just haven't signed up.
Yes.
So it's good to have that information out. And I believe we'll have a QR code down here on the screen here that you can actually put your phone to right now to sign up if you haven't yet. Yeah. So I think that's great.
And this is a new system from last year. Last year we had Remind. This year we've got School Messenger.
Yes,
so if you haven't signed up, it's really important to sign up.
No, absolutely. I want to go back to a point that you had brought up, that folks are wanting to find out the information, and, as teachers and staff and the police department are all working hard to figure out what's going on and to secure the area to make sure the kids are safe, because that's the first priority, is making sure our kids and our staff are safe.
Absolutely.
But it was funny. He shared a story. We had a deputy chief there that shared the story. And he was saying that, there was a shelter in place that was happening at his kid's school. And he kept on calling his folks that were assigned to it, and they said, "Chief, we really need to concentrate on this. We'll let you know what's going on as soon as we find out." So he was saying, even I was a deputy chief and my kids were going there, I had to still fall in line with the same policies and procedures that have been put in place by us and by the public schools to be able to communicate whatever we had to out to the parents. So I think that put a lot of parents at ease, knowing that everyone's being. It's important to everybody, but not some people are getting the more important messages than others first or whatever. We are trying to get that information out all to that community. So I think that's important. Yeah, definitely. So we talked about prevention efforts, right? What else, as far as support goes in those efforts, do we have, Jen, that's available?
Sure. So I would say, kind of starting from zooming way out, our district has done a great job about, installing all those special locks, making sure our campuses are secure. That is why you have to show your ID and ring the bell to get into the school. So I think there's been a lot of preparation for that, to try to have safety be as safe as possible and response in these situations to go as quickly and as well as possible. Then we have clear procedures for all those drills, and we practice those. But one of the things that really helps us know when we need to put those things into place is reporting anything that seems concerning around safety, that's suspicious, that anytime a student is concerned about something happening or about another student, is implementing the Sandy Hook's Promise Say Something campaign that we as a district have. So when students or community members, when they go in there, they say that it's Santa Fe Public Schools, they share whatever information they have about the threat. It is an anonymous reporting system, so as much information as possible. And then that information gets immediately routed to our district leadership that determines exactly what needs to happen from that. But this could be even as small as someone's worried about their friend thinking about suicide. They could report that, but they can also report that they heard so-and-so was going to bring a gun today, or that they saw on social media there was a bomb threat. So whatever students are seeing, whatever folks are seeing, please go to Say Something campaign and put that in there, because that helps us know and us act as quickly as possible to respond to that potential threat.
Yeah.
We also monitor through GoGuardian. We monitor on all of our district networks. What are young people searching? What are they looking up? What are they trying to find? And anything concerning from there also gets sent to district leadership. And we check in to make sure that students doing okay, that their needs are being met, that sort of thing.
What's GoGuardian? Is it a software or what is it exactly? A program?
It's a program, a digital program that is kind of embedded in our network and on all the laptops, the Chromebooks.
Okay.
And so it just kind of automatically monitors what they're searching. That
Gotcha.
sort of thing.
I got you. Okay.
Yeah. And then there's some other things that we do with the students that help try to prevent situations. So our restorative justice program, which we have at elementary, middle, and high school levels, our coordinators, they'll work with students. And we've even had students self-referring them into restorative justice services to say, this is getting big, and I know this is going to turn into a fight. So help me prevent that from happening. So through this restorative approach and through restorative practices, we're able to have conversations, have healing and repair that hopefully is resolving different types of conflict earlier than letting it escalate all the way up, where then sometimes students are using weapons to solve their problems. Kind of along with that, we have prevention education and curricula that help students understand their mental health and well-being, how to resolve regular conflicts that they're probably experiencing every day at school, but developing all of those skills they can hopefully resolve these conflicts, including bullying prevention. And that happens in different ways from pre-K all the way up to 12th grade. And then one of those programs that we also do is called WAVE, Wellness Ambassadors to Voice and Empower.
Yeah.
And that's at a lot of most of our middle schools and high schools. And every year they'll do different, prevention-led efforts on their campus, but they also always host the Santa Fe Public Schools Gun Violence Prevention Week.
Okay.
Looks different every year.
Yeah.
There's different art projects, but the main component that does happen every year is the Student Pledge Against Gun Violence, where students are pledging not to bring a weapon to school, not to bring a firearm to school, and then also not to use a gun to solve a dispute. So not solving a problem by using a gun. And what's really important is all this prevention is we're not anti-hunting, we're not anti-gun, but we are anti-gun violence and using guns to solve problems.
Yep. I feel like these efforts that we have and these things that are available, these programs that we have available, they're making better citizens too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I just feel like the restorative justice program, it's like, hey, let's sit down and talk this out and let's see what we can do. I'll hear your point of view. You hear my point of view.
Yep.
I'm not saying that, it's more constructive. Right.
Absolutely.
And then it helps you be a better citizen as you become an adult, a young adult, and then even an adult, you can instill that and pass that along, right?
And just the skills and the realizations that are learned along the process in the restorative justice program, it actually really can change a situation for a young person, but it can also really positively impact how they show up in the world, what they learn about themselves and how they learn to just, walk through the world.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Yeah. And I know you oversee the WAVE program, correct?
I do.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit more about that. What can a student experience when they're in the WAVE program?
Sure. So in the WAVE program, again, middle and high schools, there's always a staff member at the school. So a teacher or a counselor or someone is the faculty sponsor. And one really neat thing about WAVE is that it's youth driven. So it's not the sponsor coming in saying, okay, students, here's what we're going to do. The sponsor's there to help support them, to help organize them, to kind of hold that group together. But it's the young people in the group that say, this is what we want to do on our campus this year.
Yeah.
We're noticing a lot of bullying. That's what we want to focus on. We're really concerned about gun violence. That's what we're going to focus on. Every WAVE group does things a little bit different.
Yeah.
They all generally focus on suicide prevention, substance use prevention, gun violence prevention, and just overall like mental health and wellness and well-being.
Yeah.
But, it runs the gamut of a lot of different district-led initiatives, like our reach out cards that we give out, our Seize the Awkward campaign, which encourages young people to talk to each other and reach out and make sure their friends are okay, all the way to staying safe when it comes time for prom and graduation and all those exciting things that our older students get to do. So it runs the gamut of a lot of different options.
Is there a process to being able to be a part of the WAVE program?
Yes, you have to say, I want to be in the WAVE program.
That's it?
That's it. They can ask at the school who's in charge of it.
Okay.
They can always call my office and ask as well, and we can get them in touch. They typically meet once a week or so. They have fun field trips they get to go on. We give them pizza parties and T-shirts and things like that. And they get to make a difference in their school in the ways that they think the school that students at their school need support in order for their experience to be better.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a really great program.
That's great. Another thing that was brought up that night was that how can families support their student after something like a shelter in place or a lockdown happens, right? Because I mean, for the younger ones, and even you can't even just say the younger kids, K through 8 or high school or middle, it affects different,
absolutely,
all of them, right? And so we talked about this. We had a slide on this, and it was like, how can they support their family? How can families support their student after they have an event like this happening at school that day?
I think open up those lines of communication with your student. And even if it was a practice lockdown drill, ask them how it went. Ask them if they knew what to do. Ask them how they felt during it. Ask them, were you curious? Were you bored? Were you worried? Just talk to them about their experience, because if you're talking to them about the practice drills, then if an actual lockdown or shelter in place happens, then it'll also be easier to talk about that. Okay. But if a real lockdown or shelter in place happens, it's important to validate and normalize whatever it is they're feeling. They might be indifferent, they might be worried. They could be anywhere on that feelings map, and none of the feelings about it are wrong. Yeah. But checking in about their feelings and how they're doing with it, helping your child, if they need to manage any of those feelings that come up. I mean, even just being stuck in the room with the same classmates for that amount of time could be stressful for them. So helping them manage their stress during that, and just really reinforce that those drills are for practice so that we all know what to do, so we can all keep ourselves safe.
Gotcha.
And if you're noticing signs of stress or distress from your student, if you're thinking it's maybe impacting them quite a bit, because honestly, even the things that are going on in the world around us can impact, even if it's not happening at their school in Santa Fe. Yeah. If it happens at another school, or it happens somewhere else in New Mexico, or even across the country, these things can still impact our students. They're being flooded with this information. And so also be mindful, are we keeping the news on in front of our younger kids that is just constantly talking about this? So, mindful of things like that. If you're concerned about your child, there are some resources. You can reach out to your school counselor. You can also reach out to your school counselor and see if some school-based behavioral health resources could help them. So we actually have therapists that come into the school. The parents, of course, sign up to be referred. Yeah. And then they actually provide therapy services during the school day at school, which helps a lot of parents with transportation. But there's options for off-campus as well. So if that's something that you think might benefit your child, just reach out to your school counselor and they can help you start that process. Also, we recommend at home that we're restricting what we call access to lethal means. So whether that's, for gun violence prevention or suicide prevention, if we have medication at home, are we keeping that locked up so that our children can't access that either intentionally or unintentionally? Yeah. And same thing with firearms. If we have guns in the house, do we have them locked up? Do we have a gun lock on it, a cable gun lock? Are we separating the ammunition? Are we doing those things that can prevent both unintentional injury, but also a young person who might be struggling and finds a firearm to solve a dispute or a problem with.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that we're keeping those things safe. And then also on our website at the district, under the behavioral health resources or the resources to support your child, we have some information on there. It does talk about that school-based behavioral health. It also talks about our teen health centers where you can get both like medical care, but you can also get behavioral health care as well. And it has some helplines. So anytime someone is really concerned or stressed or having a hard day, they don't have to be in crisis, call 988. There's trained folks there. And actually in New Mexico, it gets routed to the New Mexico Crisis and Access Line. And those are trained clinicians that can actually talk to a parent, talk to a child, talk to just any community member.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be crisis. But we also have some other resources for parents and for students, both for their own mental health and well-being. But there's also information from the CDC about how to talk to your child after a traumatic event.
Yeah.
There is a list of different books that range even from little kids, where it's a picture book and you can talk about, processing that trauma at, of course, a developmentally appropriate level.
Yeah.
It's a cute and fun picture book. There's a whole bunch of them. So lots of resources on our website. If you're sitting here scratching your head saying, how do I talk to my kid about this? That can get you started and help you with that process. Because I know as a parent, sometimes I don't know where to start. I don't know how to start. I don't know how to approach it. And so sometimes these things help me figure out how to do that with my own child.
Yeah. Well, that's great. That's one thing. I think it's just important that we let the folks know out there that are watching this and listening to this that we have these resources available to them if they need to.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Jenn, thank you for coming on and sharing all this information. And it was a great event. And I think it was important that the superintendent thought, we need to get this information out.
Absolutely.
Let's do it. And so we said, hey, let's do it through a podcast and see and get that information out there and formalize it, right, and memorialize it, and people can have access to this. So that's great. Thanks again.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
Yep.
Thanks for having me.
From the Assistant Director, Jenn Jevertson, Office of Student Wellness. Thank you so much.
Great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And folks, thank you for joining us today. This has been Inside Santa Fe Public Schools podcast. I want to thank our technical director, Tara Melton, for also producing this show for us. So thanks again, folks. Have a safe week. Have a great week. Adios.